Welcome everyone! My tank lever broke, so I'm going to show you how to install a new one, which is sometimes trickier than you think. I'll show you how to get everything in proper alignment, including changing the flapper out. So let's go! Check this out, the handle's flapping in the wind. Let's take a look. I remove the tank lid and find the flush rod dead at the bottom of the tank. I'm pretty sure it's the original one, now 20 years old. Not bad for a plastic one. Now this flush rod pulls the flapper up so the toilet flushes. This would normally be attached here, of course. We're going to install a slightly better metal one instead. I start by turning off the water. Don't crank down on your water shutoff valve, especially if it's old. Once you feel it's getting close to being closed, just give it small turns until it feels closed. Next, we need to unhook the lift chain from the flush rod. So I open the adjustable hook and maneuver the flush rod around the top of it to unhook it. Let's use a crescent wrench to remove the handled nut inside the tank next. Now take note, most handles have a nut with left-handed thread. This means you have to turn it clockwise to loosen it and counterclockwise to tighten it. Here's a close-up what it looks like. Okay, here's the new complete tank lever in its packaging. Notice this one doesn't have a plastic flush rod and is for front mount tanks. Okay, again, we have to turn it clockwise to unscrew the nut, but let me show you the most tricky part of this repair. Watch what happens when I install this tank lever. The flush rod is hitting the tank and is not aligned over the flapper. I'll show you how to fix that in a second. Now understand, depending on your toilet's tank, you might need to purchase a specific tank lever for your toilet's tank, and they do have ones that you can just adjust. I would recommend to bring your tank lever to the hardware store or your plumbing supply store and just ask for help purchasing the correct one. The one I like best are all metal, but I didn't see one at the store this time around. Okay, this is how you adjust your flush rod. Right here you want to grab it with your channel lock pliers, or what I do is I stick it in my vise. If you have this type of tank lever and the flush rod goes into plastic and you skip this step, you will break it. And then if you're using two channel lock pliers, take the second one, or if you're using a vise like me, take your channel lock pliers and bend it. It's a little bit of trial and error until you get it right. Let's go try it. I insert it. Notice how the hole in the tank is square, so it locks in place with the handle that is also square at its base. And then I reattach the nut. I tighten it by hand at first, and then gently with my wrench. Make sure you don't over tighten, especially if it's the all metal type. It can crack the tank. Looks like we got it on the first try. See how it's directly over the flapper? Now what you don't want is it pulling the flapper in a sideways direction, either to the left or the right. That could possibly warp the flapper over time and eventually leading it to leak or fail completely. Now just like there's different tank levers, there's different types and sizes of flappers. This one has different size holes in it, and you turn the dial to set the size hole that allows for the proper duration it stays open before it closes for the flush. It's one of the flappers you can try if you're experiencing a double flush if adjusting the tank water level didn't work. Mine uses just a standard universal 2-inch flapper. I keep on hand a multi-pack, and I like to cut the package like this and only pull out the one I'm using, keeping the other packaged. While I show you a quick shot of the new one, I would like to mention the current one is technically still working fine, but it's showing its age, so while I'm in here, I'm going to go ahead and change it out. So you just unhook the flapper wings from the flush valve. Some flappers, you have to push and snap them on, but this one just has holes you slip over the hooks on the flush valve. Now the part that's a little tricky that you need to have some understanding and knowledge of is setting the pull chain length. If not set right and too long, the chain can prevent the flapper from closing. Also, if it's too long, it won't pull the flapper up high enough to initiate the flush. So you see me here picking the hole in the flush rod directly above the center of the flapper. Again, you want to pull the flapper straight up. So let's test it. I go ahead and turn the shutoff valve counterclockwise to turn the water back on. Hey, if you guys are liking this video, please consider and remember to hit the like button and subscribing to see more home DIY repairs like this one. It really helps me out to grow my channel. So you want the tank to completely fill up before you test the flush. Now the tank lid can affect the flush if the flush rod is too long in some tanks. So put the lid back on, at least for the first test flush, to make sure that that's not an issue. And then you can quickly remove it just to look inside and see how things are performing. You want to test this a few times just to make sure everything is working correctly. Now my repair was pretty straightforward, but I'm going to show you a couple other potential adjustments you might need to make for your repair. If you're finding that the chain is too long and getting stuck under the flapper or not pulling the flapper up high enough, take the adjustment hook and remove it from the top link and move it down a few links to take up the slack from the pull chain. It's a little bit of trial and error, performing more test flushes until you got it to the right length. But on this one, I didn't need to make any kind of adjustments, and this is what it should look like. Just enough chain length to allow the flapper to close completely, and a little bit of extra. On these metal flush rods, you can cut it here, or sometimes I see people fold it over by bending it if it's hitting the tank lid and not giving you enough pull up with the chain fully extended. Here's one last fast forward flush so you can see proper operation and alignment. The chain is not getting tangled, and the flapper is completely closing. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video and I gave you some DIY knowledge to save some money and avoid calling a plumber. Please remember to hit the thumbs up if you like this video, and be sure to subscribe. Click on the playlist on the screen to check out my other DIY toilet repair videos. There's videos on how to repair and change out a fill valve, how to repair a toilet flange, and another how to change a toilet seat out. Thanks again for watching. Bye everyone.